We are live back with a Tuesday edition of Your Wildest Fantasy Football Show.
Oh, yeah.
We have to have a discussion before we get into any football stuff. We have to have a couple things that we got to cover in this. Call it the announcements, morning announcements for you, even though it is 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully, just get adjusted to your mountain time, your West Coast time, whatever that is called, and just pretend that it's morning and we're coming over the PA at your school. They just said the Pledge of Allegiance. We're just giving you some announcements to get you really set up for your day. First off, the hair is out today. Hair's out because it's the end of November, tomorrow.
Right.
And I'm getting a haircut. Now, I'm going to be all cleaned up. Mustache might stay for a couple days. Not sure yet. Probably play that one by ear.
Correct.
But I don't know if I want to go no hat and just let it flow.
Correct.
Like that is probably the best way that it can get set up.
That's
or if I want to go hat, because this is the last time I'm going to be able to wear a hat for a long time. I don't know. Probably shouldn't say this, but it's not a bad thing, I don't think. I just look ill when I wear a hat and I don't have hair coming out the back. I look like a sick child, and I should be in some sort of hospital of some sort.
Amen.
Keep it vague. And I can't wear a hat. It's really one of the worst parts about it. So I should take advantage of this last opportunity to wear a hat. So I'm kind of conflicted. I was hoping that you could help me out with that.
Right. I think you should just do like every 5 minutes, hat, no hat. That way you get the best of both worlds. You know, like last time we get to see you looking like a homeless bun, and then like we get to see you now look like a child, and then homeless child. You know, back and forth here.
No homeless child though. We don't want a crossover of that.
Right. I think that just would be a line.
I mean, that would just make us all sad. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a rough day all around.
The other announcement, now that we have that covered, it's going to be really funny when I have to switch to put a hat on in the middle of this one. We talked about this a little bit before the show. I look like Jimmy Neutron with the hair poking up.
Indeed.
I tried to style it this morning, but it's just too long. There's really nothing I could do. I think I had a deer antler there for a second. Yeah, so what were so we've been doing this show for a while now. We've been doing it 4 days a week for a while now. Going forward, we are not going to do it 4 days a week. Just time-wise, a bit of a commitment, especially with other things going on. And I'll take the heat for this one, Toady. I have a lot of things going on. Toady has a lot of things going on too.
That's also true.
We both have a lot of things going on. But I'm doing this other podcast that you may or may not have heard of called a serious sports show. And that requires a lot of time. It's a lot of pre-written, scripted sports comedy material. So if you're into that, check that out. I'm also working for a couple other people writing articles, whether that be fantasy stuff or just sports stuff in general. And we also both just have lives outside of this. So yeah, it's a pretty heavy time investment to put all of our hours into this show. We are going to think of new kind of ways to keep the show going. We're definitely going to do something. We just are not sure exactly what that's going to be yet.
Right.
All we know is 4 days a week is probably not sustainable. So that, unfortunately, is going to have to change. But for the rest of this week, it will be 4 days a week. starting next week, we will keep you updated on that. That will probably be an announcement that will come on.
Nice timing.
Yeah, on Friday. We will talk more about that and what you can come to expect from us going forward. And that is about it for your morning announcements.
Exactly.
But it is not it for the show. We have a lot to cover. We are going to talk about Monday Night Football, waivers for the week, and give you some buy, sell options at the deadline. Trade deadline in ESPN leagues is tomorrow at noon.
Amen.
So last second offers, you should be going out and targeting in trades, not in college football, because that would get you kicked out of the game, but in trades, and people you should be selling in trades. Very important to say in trades there as well. First things first, we have to talk about the game last night between the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team. Washington picking up the win in what was pretty sloppy one, as was Sunday night, 17-15. This Seahawks team just kind of looks lost on offense. And I don't know it's definitely the offensive line.
Right.
I think that's pretty obvious, is that Russ is getting hit every play, but even when he wasn't, he was missing guys wide open. And I think the big storyline here is going to be DK's night. 1 for 13 and 2.3 fantasy points. I believe he only had one other target outside of that.
He had 4 targets. Four targets, 1 completion for 13 yards.
And yeah, I mean, not a good day for DK by any sorts. But if you look, even on the broadcast, they were showing plays where he was wide open and Russ was not getting him the ball. I'm not as worried as I maybe should be about DK. Like, I don't want to say I'm not worried, because how can you not be worried if anybody puts up 1 for 13 and doesn't get a target until the second half? I think it was late in the third quarter that he got his first one, if not the fourth. And it wasn't really anywhere close to him either. So you got to be worried, but I don't think I'm as worried as some people would be. I wouldn't call it a panic. Mainly because, like, I trust talent to win out in most circumstances. If there's somebody like DK Metcalf that is struggling, and he has Russell Wilson throwing him the ball, I trust that they're going to figure it out. It's not like you're relying on, with Terry, you're relying on Taylor Heineke to get him the ball. Or this is a great quarterback, great receiver matchup or tandem here. And it's not like the volume has been bad consistently. He had 8 targets in the last 2, even though he has not scored many points. I don't know that he's like going to be a wide receiver 1 every week. I'm like, knock it off. Like, this is going to just wear right off very quickly, but I'm not panic selling him like you have to get rid of him. This isn't a Mike Williams, DJ Moore situation to me.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more panicky with DK. It's playoff time. You need people to perform consistently and perform consistently well. So DK, since the bye, has been under double digits all 3 games. Coincidentally, Russell has come back since the bye, and this is, Russell's first game above double digits since he's come back from the bye. We both had DK kind of high when we did our wide receiver rest of season. I believe he was inside of our top 12 for us.
Probably. I have no idea, actually.
I can't remember. I think he was, just because I think we had a conversation about him being the number 1 guy out there. I don't know. I think He has a talent. Thank you. He has a talent. I don't know. I'm with you. Like talent usually does win out, but at the same time, like you need to reel in more than half your catches. Like this is kind of what I was saying about Mike Williams yesterday. I mean, since Russ has come back, he went 3 for 8, 4 for 8, 1 for 4. That's well below 50%, borderline, 25, 33% of the completion percentage there. I'm not in love with DK anymore. And I think like, especially since we are in playoff time, you need someone who's going to be better. He's not the wide receiver one that people were expecting him to be. I'd say you try to package him up and move him on.
I mean, I don't know that I don't know that I was ever in love with DK.
Mm-hmm.
I think like sometimes someone comes around, you get a little bit of butterflies, and you're like, I don't know what this is.
I want to know.
And yeah, I don't know if it's love, but it's something. Like Deontay, there's a lot of guys who don't convert on a lot of their targets. I get that Deontay Johnson gets a lot more looks. He's converted on less than 60% of his targets so far this year. Also Terry McLaurin, who's been in this game, has converted on less than 60% of his targets this year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see where DK is on that. DK's converted on 62%. So that's kind of around.
Wait, Scary Terry's above 50%. He's 58.
I didn't say he was above. I said he was below 60.
Oh, I thought you said below 50. I was like,
No.
He's 58 for 98. He's missed 40 receptions so far.
Yeah. So I'm not worried about the missing some of his targets because that's kind of who DK is. Like DK will get targets and a lot of them come downfield. He's more of a big catch the guy than like a super volume guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm not feeling great about starting him with any higher expectations than wide receiver 2, but I'm still playing him unless I'm in a very, very in most situations, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on your team, you more than likely have to play him. I'm just saying you want to try to move him for someone who, in the past 3 weeks, he's just been on a downhill slide.
Do you think you can get anything at that point, though?
Again, you kind of mentioned this yesterday, how you and a lot of people are with you that name value is a lot higher bargaining tool than I like to admit. So I think the name of DK Metcalf is going to get you more. You could, probably get a solid, consistent wide receiver 2, if not even low end wide receiver 1, who has been falling. I mean, I think you can definitely make it happen. And I mean, Jalen Waddle's name isn't huge, but Jalen Waddle's been on a tear these past couple of weeks.
And I think that's a name that you would certainly look at. I was going to bring
Jalen Waddle, he started off kind of slow. Last, 3 weeks or 4 weeks really since Seahawks had to bye, he's at double digits every single week. But Jalen Waddle's name credit isn't going to get you. Like a rising Jalen Waddle and a falling DK Metcalf are still separate, but not even in the favor of Jalen Waddle just because his name isn't as big. And I think that could work, could work in your favor if you have DK and are looking to acquire Waddle, who I think is on the up and up right now. For the last 4 games, he's been solid for you, and I think that's what you're looking for moving into the playoffs. So he's a guy I would target for sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting name. I'd be interested to see how many leagues that would be accepted in. I think depending on your situation, it could be a good move for either side, depending on what you're looking for, whether that be the consistency or the upside. I was going to bring a couple other names to the table. Michael Pittman. Would you trade DK for him? I would not.
I mean, it's an interesting guy for sure. Pittman, wide receiver 1. He has kind of fallen off these last couple games, but I think he has potential to do it. If he gets a touchdown, he gets you double digits. So,
DJ Moore on his bye week this week. You could probably do that if you would like to.
Yeah, I mean, CMC's out for years, so DJ Moore's going to get a bunch of volume. Just depends on if Cam can throw him the ball. That's kind of what the only issue would be in my mind.
Yeah, we saw DJ Moore slow down, though, too, without CMC. So I would probably –
I would kind of stay away from that one just because DJ Moore hasn't really been sustainable without the CMC. And now that he has Cam's actually –
saw how Cam played last week.
Cam had the statistically worst quarterback performance since 2004. Like, it's been almost 20 years. Thank you. It's been like almost 20 years since we saw someone be as bad as Cam was. And I'm just not sure if I can trust a wide receiver out there, especially since their running back situation is pitiful right now.
Okay, so sometimes a little inside production stuff here. My webcam has an autofocus. I don't know how much you guys know about the word auto, but it's shortened for automatically. And basically meaning this computer has a mind of its own. And I'll get like super just more pale than I actually am.
Same.
Sometimes the lights will just suck in my whiteness and distort it. And to refocus it, sometimes I gotta get really close. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's why I looked like I was gonna eat the camera for a little bit. And maybe I was. I don't know what that sound that just came out of my mouth was, but probably a deep inhale after just swallowing the camera whole. Yeah, I don't know that I would want DJ Moore either. I think it's just like I said with the talent winning out. I would rather have – I trust Russ and DK to kind of right the ship because it's Russ and DK. And I've seen them do it before. And I don't know that it's going to be great, but I have a feeling that it's going to be okay and good enough to keep DK at least as a wide receiver too.
Okay.
Because it's not like he's not getting open. It's kind of goes back to the OBJ thing too. Like we see that he's getting open, and I think that they'll look to get him the ball more. On the other side of the ball, Antonio Gibson, 29 carries, 111 yards, 7 catches for 35 yards, 23.6 fantasy points. I think that's in half PPR too, because I have just realized I'm in my half PPR league. So basically the point is Antonio Gibson had an unreal day, and maybe even better than the numbers is the amount of touches. 36 touches for a guy who was battling a shin fracture all year since the bye week, has really seen more of an opportunity and just been more effective. As the tide kind of turned for Antonio Gibson?
Maybe. Interesting statistic here. Going back all the way to week 5, Antonio Gibson needs 20 rushing attempts to get you double digits. Since week 5, every week that he has below 20, he gets you underneath 10 points. I don't know if I trust him all the way. Last night was very impressive to get, 36, touches in a game. I thought that was insane. I like Antonio Gibson, definitely a guy who, if you can go out and get him, I just don't know if I trust him week in and week out to consistently deliver for me, mainly because, besides week 1, 3, and 4, he needs 20 touches on the ground to get you 10 points or more.
Yeah, I want to reframe what you said just a little bit, and just say in 4 of the 6 weeks that he's had double digits, he's had 20 carries. Because, I mean, since week 5, that is true, but in weeks 3 and 4, he didn't, and he did have have double digits. But in 4 of the 6 games, I think volume is certainly the main factor here which is the point that you're trying to get across.
He had 19 against Carolina. He had 19 carries on the ground against Carolina for 95 yards and still got you underneath double digits.
Yeah.
That's another point I was saying is that he more times than not, needs the 20 carries. I said besides week 3 and 4 to get you, 10 plus fantasy points.
Well, it's going to be volume in this offense anyway, because it's not like it's a excellent offense that we're talking about. It's not he only has 4, 5, 6 touchdowns on the year. So it's not an offense where he's going to score a lot. It's not an offense that's too productive. So, and he's sharing the backfield. He was sharing the backfield with J.D. McKissic. We'll see. Hope the best for him. That was a scary hit for him, and hoping the best to see good updates from that. But he's been sharing the backfield, and it's not this prolific offense. So certainly not the best situation. If he's your RB2, I would feel good just with the amount of carries that he's getting. You're certainly getting a much better version of Antonio Gibson than it looked like for a while. But I would be interested to see if he comes up later in the show in our trade segment or not. So maybe a little tease for you there. Do you have anything else from this game?
This game, I just said great call by me for, saying to sit DK over Scary Terry. So
there we go. I did start Terry. You meant to say start Terry over DK.
I said sit DK over Terry.
Oh, okay. I thought you said start.
No, sit. Okay. Put him on the bench. Tell him to sit down, grab some pine, drink some water. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything about Cordell Patterson? Just to keep it consistent with what we said we were going to rename this show yesterday.
Cordell Patterson's going to have two tough games ahead. Tampa Bay, then Carolina. But he's going to turn it around for San Francisco, Detroit, playing Buffalo. If Jonathan Taylor can, get 5 touchdowns, the far superior athlete, more explosive athlete in Cordell Patterson is obviously going to be able to do the same. So ain't no worries about that. Just going to have to suffer through 2 a little bit of a tougher weeks, but it is what it is when you got the GOAT on your team. Tom Brady ain't pitching 100 no more. Tom Brady underneath 10 points. He's a GOAT. So potato, hoorah, Calvin Johnson.
Sure. Moving on to our waiver discussion heading into week 13. As always, I will break down some of the priority, even though it's kind of tough to do priority. We talk about this every week, but just to kind of rehash in case you have not been here for those discussions, priority is just a suggestion based off of, everything here is kind of a suggestion based off of our own opinions, but we don't know your team needs specifically. You may need a guy that is not a guy on this list, may be lower down, but he may be more important to your team. Mm-hmm. So do what's best for your team specifically, and don't just follow priority because that's what other people are telling you to do.
That's why I go with position. That way everyone can just get the best guy at each position. Condo goes by priority for people who have the luxury of just picking off the best guy for trade value. I go off of, teams who are struggling at each position. And that's how it just be collide that way.
Okay. Speaking of positions, quarterbacks.
We are going to talk about some quarterbacks, baby. So this week, I really like Tyrod. I always say that just because, it's Tyrod Taylor. But Tyrod's playing Indy, 27th in terms of fantasy points to the quarterback. Tyrod had a pretty good week last week, about 19 points for him. Way better than some of the big-name quarterbacks, i.e. Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson. So, obviously Tyrod over Lamar. Staying with that same game, Carson Wentz is also an interesting guy to consider just because Houston doesn't have a defense that's, real scary. You have Jonathan Taylor to dish the ball down to. You have Pittman and Hill, Doyle, Mo Alley Cox. who can all make catches for you. So Carson won't give you a whole lot on the ground like Tyrod will. He'll give you more on the ground aspect. But the weapons that Carson has on his side of the ball is definitely encouraging. So both those guys this week made the love list. Another guy who I think you might bring up, who I don't feel confident with. Thank you. One this week, but also moving forward, is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, reports are saying he will be the starter this week. The only problem with that is Taysom Hill's going to have to run for 100 yards and get a couple touchdowns for you to have any real fancy value. Kamara's out. There's no Michael Thomas. If you look at their wide receiver core, it's very thin. If you look at their tight ends, they're not really producing either. Mark Ingram could be out. Kamara could potentially play, but as we know and have seen from years past, Taysom Hill and Kamara do not make a dynamic duo in the backfield because Kamara loses some value because Taysom will run it. They're also playing Dallas, which is 7th best in terms of stopping the quarterback from, having good, valuable fantasy weeks. So I'm not loving Taysom, but if you're a guy who enjoys being wrong, then go ahead and pick up Taysom Hill just because I figured Kondo would talk about him later.
Interesting you brought Taysom Hill up in your segment. And
I didn't say
he enjoy being wrong.
I didn't say I didn't say he made my love list. I said Carson and Tyrod made the love list. I just brought him up because I know he's a big name guy that people are going to be swooning over. And I'm just going to let them know they're going to be disappointed. So
it's okay, Matthew. Barry didn't realize we were stealing segments now.
I didn't say love, hate.
You said love list. That's what he says all the time, doesn't he?
No, he says love, hate.
I don't think he says love, hate. But he says he doesn't say someone made my love, hate list. If they're on the love side of it, he said.
I don't know what you want me to do. I have a list here, and it has people who I am going to go after. And I also have a list of which people I'm not going to go after. I don't know what you want me to call it.
You could call it love, hate, just from experience. What I've seen works. Anyway, I mean, Taysom wasn't on my short list of guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kind of for the reason that you said, as far as the weaponry. I think that you might be able to find someone out there that's a little bit better.
Tyrod or Carson Wentz.
Matchup-wise, too. I don't think Carson is going to be an awesome streamer this week just because I think we're going to have the lead. I'm not going after him anyway. He might have a good week, but just not a guy that I'm necessarily trusting to have the best week. I think that I do like the Tyrod pick up. I do want to look at some of these matchups.
So just to defend Carson a little bit, not that I like Carson, but Indy has played Houston already this year. Week 6, Carson Wentz went for 17 points. That would have been in the upper 7 or 8 in terms of quarterbacks last week. I mean, it was just a bad week, and I am kind of expecting similar results. So yeah, 17 points last time they played. I don't think much is going to change, but 17 points from a guy who, if you're streaming quarterbacks, you could definitely go with a lot worse of options for sure.
Yeah, I would rather go Taysom just because of the running. I don't think he needs to run for 100 yards and multiple touchdowns. But I think that he could have a solid day for you. Just regardless, I think that running gives a solid floor at the least, and it's something that I would look for if I had the choice or needed a quarterback. Moving on to running backs, I think I should probably start here, seeing that running backs make up 1 through 4 on my list. Running backs, we talk about positional value being probably the most important here. I would say maybe even more important than tight end, because with tight end, I feel like it's just 1 or 2, and then everyone else is just kind of a crapshoot. So even the bad guys, there isn't much of a difference, or not the bad guys, but the okay guys isn't much of a difference, where the running backs, there can be a huge difference from 5 to 10, and then from 10 to 15, and then 15 to 20, and then anywhere outside of that as well. And starting out with the guy that we expect to be a top 12 guy week in and week out, as long as Dalvin Cook is out, that is going to be Alexander Madison. He's available in 33 or only rostered in 33.5% of leagues.
Correct.
Which is wild. We've kind of been talking about him pretty consistently as a guy to have just because of the value of handcuffs and the value of a good handcuff. And this was the worst decision we may have ever made.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and Alexander Madison, we've seen him perform without Dalvin Cook there. Dalvin's only expected to miss a little bit of time, but I don't think anybody else is going to have quite the impact that Alexander Madison is going to have, where he will win you weeks. And I'm not sure you can say that for sure about any of the other guys that you're going to pick up. They might be okay. They might be good for a longer period of time. But I don't think any of them are going to win you weeks. And if you need to win the next 2 weeks to get into the playoffs, then Alexander Madison should be the guy that you have to go after.
Yeah, maybe Alexander Madison was number one guy if you're going off of importance, number one running back, obviously. Just the best offense that you could probably go to in terms of a running back system. You have Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Tyler Conklin out there to just take the pressure off for you. And yeah, you are going to be the guy more than likely, since Dalvin Cook is going to be gone for at least this week, potentially next week. It's always good to have a good handcuff.
Yeah, agreed. Second guy, he's kind of my 2A. And really, my 2B is also interesting. I do want to talk about both of these guys, Jamal Williams and Deontay Foreman. Some would say that they're so good you could package them together and offer them for Alvin Kamara. But others would say that's probably not true.
I would defend it later, since Kondo's referring to a trade that I offered for Alvin Kamara. As we have already talked about on the show, video documentation of Kondo agreeing to this. Taysom Hill takes away Kamara's value. Taysom Hill is more than likely going to be the starter for the upcoming rest of the season. We also talked about Alvin Kamara could potentially be missing the rest of the season, and they would just shut him down. We also talked about how Kamara is not even healthy all the way right now. So a lot of pieces are in play. I am just trying to two-piece some people together to free up a roster
spot. Who are those two people?
Just anyone I want. Yes, anyone I want to.
Anyone you want to?
Anyone I want to is
okay.
Exactly.
We'll see. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Jamal Williams is the 2A here. I really think it depends on what you need with these two guys. I think the difference in Alexander Madison, like the for sureness, if that's the right phrasing, like I think we're both pretty confident that he can deliver RB1 numbers. I don't think the same confidence level, even though you like Jamal Williams a lot, I don't think the same confidence level is there with Jamal Williams as it is with Alexander Madison for you or for anybody. So Jamal Williams is going to be here. I also don't think that Swift, it doesn't seem like the injury is as serious with Swift. We will see about how that plays out.
Again, shoulder injury to a running back who is going to be getting hit in the shoulder every single time he's on the field, whether it be a run or a pass block in which a 300-pound D lineman is charging at your face and then popping you in the chest right in the shoulder. Easy for you to get re-aggravated. So again, Swift isn't healthy. No running back has been consistently healthy this year besides really Jonathan Taylor. Everyone else has missed time and or missed a big chunk of a game. So again, Jamal Williams is a good option. Put him as my number 2 because he is, at least he's guaranteed to be the starter this week. and potentially moving forward. And again, if Swift does come back in a week or two and he gets popped in the shoulder the wrong way, he is going to miss time again. And then you're back in this boat and you're going to be like, oh man, I can't believe I have Ty Johnson here instead of Jamal Williams. And then you're going to be like, should listen to Cody. But you didn't. So it is what it is.
Yeah, hopefully you don't go Ty Johnson. I would hope that that is not something that you have to resort to. And if you follow any of our recommendations, that won't be true. Another guy here, I think if you're looking for more of a long-term play, is going to be Deontay Foreman. If you're looking for someone who's going to go the rest of the season, you don't necessarily need somebody for this week. I think that he may be a smarter pickup here, just because I think it's pretty proven that he's going to have a role. I get that he splits with Hilliard. He's the much bigger back, so I trust him to get more carries at the goal line. Hilliard's touchdown was from 68 yards out. So I think that Foreman is probably the lead back here. I think that they trust him enough to catch some balls, and he's going to be in it for the whole season.
Yeah, Dante Foreman is a good option as well. Again, kind of behind Madison, but again, if you're looking for season-long value, Deonte Foreman is a very good pickup. He's not – a lot of people are going to throw shade on Deonte Foreman because they have kind of – Adrian Peterson was the guy, or everyone thought he was going to be their guy. Adrian Peterson's gone. Then they said it was going to be – thank you. Then they said it was going to be Nicholas. Nicholas is questionable and not really performing well anyway.
Nicholas.
I don't care what his name is. He ain't
okay.
Me.
That's old. I think that's rude, but
I mean, he cost me a week, so like honestly, it's payback. Anyway, Deonte Foreman is the bigger guy. He is also running. He has 42 attempts for 193 yards, just shy of 5 yards a carry. And for a guy of his size who should be getting the inside work if they get in close, I'm liking him. I mean, AJ Brown's gone. Julio Jones is gone. They have no one to throw to unless you are really banking on Westbrook Akeem here. So the ground game is going to be their only option. If he does splitting touches and being as prolific as he is going to be way better than another guy who is going to get far less touches and only start for maybe a week.
My 4 is going to be controversial here because we talked about him yesterday, and I did say that I don't like him. But I think Juba Hubbard is my number 4 waiver pickup this week, mostly because he's a starting running back. Like, I don't know that you see a guy who is going to get starting reps at running back and like that guy's going to get picked up on waivers. He just is. And I think that offers value, especially before we see him play. Trade deadline tomorrow at noon. If you pick up Juba Hubbard and then can ship him off, even if it's for like a package of some guys that are lower down on this list that get picked up, I think that was kind of my thinking here. Depending on need, I wouldn't be upset if you shifted him lower. I thought about putting him at 5 on this list and switching him with the person that I have behind him. But I also thought just positional value-wise, Chuba Hubbard is going to have value, especially at the trade deadline. And I will talk more about that later in the show.
Yeah, Hubbard did not make my love list. As we talked about earlier, Carolina has a very rough schedule coming up. It's playoff time for you. So if you feel comfortable starting a guy with no quarterback, then go for it. But Cam put up a historically bad performance. Cam is also known to not be the most accurate quarterback out there.
But it's your running back, so shouldn't that help?
Not really, because Chuba Hubbard is not the matchup-proof running back that we all, want him to be. And also, just the defensive matchup he's going to be facing coming up is not going to be helpful to him. I mean, you don't force feed the guy 20 touches just to have, 10 3 and outs just because you want to run it 3 times with him. It doesn't make any sense. You're going to have to throw it because you have DJ Moore who can make things happen if the ball can be delivered in his general area. So I'm not loving Chuba Hubbard, but I understand, again, starting running back is always an enticing option to go with.
Yeah, it's a big need for a lot of people. And there's going to be other guys like a lot of people started Devontae Foreman this week. A lot of people started Alex Collins this week.
Mhm.
And I just, in place of that, if you are starting those guys, I think Chuba Hubbard has to be rostered at least.
Yeah, he didn't make my list. A guy who did make my list, though, was Tevin Coleman from the Jets. So he was there. I mean, I don't know, I don't know why, just have this weird feeling about him that he's going to do good. And again, I've been 100% right on every single call this week. Michael Carter is on the IR. Michael Carter was an RB2. I don't know, if that's the most, sexy guy out here, but he's definitely a guy who's going to potentially have the job for the rest of the season. Unlike Madison and Williams, he could potentially just have this job for the rest of the way. So I like him as another guy if you're looking for a season-long value from your running back pickup.
Interesting. Tevin Coleman was on my, I don't want to call it my short list. It's more my long list.
It's very long every week.
Of maybe the honorable mention guys that I have here, as well as some handcuffs. Nyheim Hines also on the list. Devontae Booker, Sony Michel as for handcuffs. As for running backs that I think should be rostered that have a little bit of a role, Alex Collins should be rostered. I said yesterday that I didn't have a good feeling about him. But I still think that he should be rostered. He's a starting running back. I also feel like Hilliard should be rostered for the Titans. Coleman, as we discussed. Philip Lindsay, we talked about him yesterday, had 12 carries, and he just got there. So I think that Philip Lindsay gets a little bit more of that Malcolm Brown role here. And
they were also up insanely high, though.
What was that?
They were also up so much.
They were.
So again, those 12 touches were garbage time touches. You didn't really see him working in with the first team starters when the game was getting going. So before, I don't want people being confused. It was Myles Gaskin's day. They were up.
Myles Gaskin
broke the curse of every other week against the 1 or 2 ranked, run stopping defense. And then Philip Lindsay came in.
I mean, he had two touchdowns.
Good. He got me almost 20 points. He got other people almost 20 points. You can't dismiss it because he got 2 touchdowns.
We can, because it's been done on the show several times.
It's dismissed when it wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to get the 10 points, which is why
he also had. I mean, I get that he was up. I get they were up. He had 50% of the snaps. I'm not saying that Myles Gaskin's done. I'm just saying that I could see Philip Lindsay having a role here. He got more snaps than Ahmed in his first game there. So I'm just encouraged by it. I think that if you're in a deeper league, he's the last guy I brought up. I would take a shot on him.
No, I'm not with you there. He did not make the list.
Okay.
I mean, Malcolm Brown's role was very limited anyway. So, again, if you're going to start Philip Lindsay, you're in a very dire situation in terms of running back. So, I'm not loving Malcolm Brown. Obviously not Malcolm Brown. Not loving Philip Lindsay, sorry, in the Malcolm Brown role.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a Gaskin thing. I think it'll be a little bit of an annoyance, but I don't know. I have a belief in Philip Lindsay as a player, and I'm fine on taking a shot on him in a very, very deep league, or just keeping an eye out for him in your 12-man leagues. On wide receivers, and to finish off my top 5 list, we are going to get into Van Jefferson, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Rams. Came out yesterday that Odell has a hip pointer injury. We don't know how serious that's going to be, or even if that is going to affect him in any sense, if it's going to keep him out. They say they don't expect him to be limited because of the injury. I mean, he looked pretty hurt at the end of that game. I don't know if it's going to limit him too much as far as being on the field. I just don't know if he's going to be 100% healthy when he's playing. And I know that regardless, Van Jefferson had 9 targets in this game, only had 3 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown. But getting 9 targets on the Rams is valuable to me, is something that I want to be involved in. This is an offense still, even with their recent struggles, that I want most parts of, probably every part of. So I am very willing to put Van Jefferson as my number 1 waiver pickup at the wide receiver position, and a guy that I wouldn't feel bad about starting Van Jefferson. I don't know if I would feel fine having him in my flex.
I'm not loving Van Jefferson. OBJ potentially is going to miss 1 week. It's just a bruising, a weird feeling in your pelvic region. The most times when someone gets this, it's between 1 and 3 weeks to come back. So I'm not expecting a big time off gap for OBJ. Again, he got 9 targets. He delivered on 3 of them. So if you want a guy who is going to be big play dependent, then Van Jefferson, thank you.
I can't do that.
You were super late on that one. Might as well just keep it on now. Yeah. Van Jefferson is a big play guy. He does get, the shots downfield. So again, he doesn't need a whole lot of catches to have a good week. But it's, it all depends on what you're going for. If you want a guy who is big play dependent, I don't know. He needs a touchdown to get you double digits. It is what it is. That can't be said for everyone else. He has a touchdown week 1, double digits. Week 4, double digits. Week 7, double digits. Week 8 was the only week he did not have a touchdown when he got you 11.8 in full point PPR. And then he got you a touchdown this week against Green Bay and double digits. But besides that, 2, 8, 2, 4, 7, 8.
I mean, we all also are talking about give a little bit of trying to help my argument here. We've had a couple weeks without Robert Woods. I mean, he's had 7 targets at least in all of those games. We had Odell trying to string him along. I just think there's a lot of opportunity here. And if he gets deep looks, that's awesome. And if he starts to get more looks because Robert Woods is out of the picture, which I think is more of a me belief than a you belief. You said that you think Odell is better than Robert Woods. And I don't know that he's going to be getting all of those Robert Woods looks. I think it's going to be more split. And I think he's the guy that needs to be on rosters because of that.
I mean, OBJ played hurt, outscored Cooper Kupp, number 1 wide receiver in the league. That's all that needs to be said about it that I haven't already said before. I'm going to move on because Van Jefferson did not make the quick list here.
Can we talk about, before we move on, I mean, Odell got 1 more target. He got 2 more catches and 1 more target.
Then Van Jefferson or Cooper Kupp?
Then Van Jefferson. And, I mean, that's the touchdown is the reason that he outscored Cooper Kupp. And
Van Jefferson also had
that big touchdown that he got most of his points, which is very similar to Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson also had a touchdown.
That's what I said.
Right. But you said he outscored Van Jefferson because of the touchdown, which makes it sound like OBJ had a touchdown and Van Jefferson didn't, and they were right neck.
No, I said listen. I said you said he outscored Cooper Kupp. That was your big claim of why Odell's the greatest. He outscored Cooper Kupp because he had a touchdown. True? Yes. He had a 50-yard. Well, I want to pull up the exact numbers here so that I don't get crucified. 54-yard touchdown early in the fourth quarter. Van Jefferson also had a big touchdown that made up most of his day. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is the Odell to Van Jefferson difference. Odell did have 2 more catches, 1 more target, but a lot of their points, both of them, came off of one big play, which isn't a great sign for either of them, but I think we both believe that that's not going to remain the same for either of them. I think that there's not that big of a difference between Odell and Van Jefferson's role in this offense. And that's why I am willing to put Van Jefferson not ahead of Odell, because I'm not saying that he's better than Odell, but I'm willing to put him ahead of Laviska Shenault, Rashad Bateman, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, AJ Green, and other guys that are on my short list here, but are not, I think, the impact or on the offense that Van Jefferson is.
So Rams are a special offensive team. OBJ was injured, still leading the team in fantasy points, beating Van Jefferson in terms of targets, point.
By 1.
Kind of, how many, I mean, I guess if we're going to be nitty picky here, you can lose your league by 1 point. I don't know, this is the time of season where 1 point, 1 reception, and matters more, if that makes sense. In the beginning, you can lose a week and you'll be fine. Right now, this is playoff time. People are getting poised to make a playoff push, if not trying to secure their spot, getting into the playoffs. You don't want a guy who you're going to be making an excuse for at the end of the week.
I don't think there's an excuse.
But you said 1 more target.
He did have 1 more target. That's
great. That's what you need, though. He also had 2 more catches. You want a guy who's going to get you more, deliver more on those touches. You don't want a guy who's going to catch 33% of the balls. You want a guy who's going to catch at least 50, like OBJ did. OBJ was also hurt. So again,
he got hurt in the end of the game. Yes.
No, that's when.
But you can make that. What I'm saying is that it's an arbitrary argument. You can make that argument. Oh, he got 1 more target. Well, Van Jefferson got more yards. What are we talking about? What is the statistical thing? And we're not comparing Odell to Van Jefferson. That's not what we're doing here, because I've already said that Van Jefferson is not going to produce more than Odell. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Van Jefferson is going to produce more than Rashad Bateman, Sterling Shepard, Devontae Parker, Kadarius Toney, AJ Green, Russell Gage, or any other wide receiver that is out there in over 50% of leagues. Odell Beckham is not out there in over 50%.
No, OBJ is not, because OBJ is one of the best wide receivers in the game.
But I'm not arguing with you. You're arguing a completely different point. I'm arguing that there's not as big of a gap where Odell is just going to completely cut Van Jefferson out of this offense.
I didn't say completely cut out, but you're making it sound like OBJ is such a small part of this offense that Van Jefferson is such this massive wide receiver 2 with OBJ.
No, I didn't. I literally started this thing when we started talking about 10 minutes ago. I said I would feel fine putting him in my flex. That's how I put it. I don't know. Is there another receiver that is out there that you feel better about than Van Jefferson?
Shepard and Russell Gage were both guys I put above him. In the past 2 weeks, small sample size for Russell Gage, 8 targets in New England, 7 targets in Jacksonville. Small sample size, but again, Calvin Ridley's out potentially just for the rest of the year. He has made no comment about coming back to play. He's going to be their number one. Kyle Pitts has been mediocre at best. You have a guy who is going to demand a lot of attention in Cordell Patterson. He's not the first fiddle out there. He has a good chance to be the number one guy, number one, not number three, like Van Jefferson, on a team that's going to have to throw.
Buddy. Number one for the Falcons. It could might as well be a number three.
That is going to have to throw, and that is starting to put more trust into him. I like his odds. I also like Sterling Shepard. If Sterling Shepard is healthy, which he hasn't really been able to be for most of the season, but 3 out of the 5 games he's played, he's got you double digits for. He has 1 touchdown on the year and still got you, 2 other weeks with 17 points. That's fantastic when he plays. And again, Saquon, a little banged up, not playing 100%. Kadarius Toney, a little banged up. Galladay, not playing well. Galladay's playing, but not well. Sterling Shepard's the guy out there. So give me.
I don't know. I agree. Like, I would rather have a healthy Sterling Shepard than Van Jefferson. 110%. But I gotta be honest, it was kind of funny when you were saying Saquon hurt, Kadarius Toney banged up, Galladay not playing his best, but Sterling Shepard is also out because he's been hurt. Like, we can't say, oh, and I've been saying it for a while, so I don't know that we can't say it, but like, I've just had enough of like banking on Sterling Shepard to be healthy. I've just gotten burned by it for so many weeks in a row that like, I don't know that. Like, he'd be my next wide receiver for sure, because when he's healthy, he can perform. But like, I cannot bank on that anymore.
I guess I'm on a different boat just because he is performing well when.
Yeah. We agree wholeheartedly on that.
So just a quick numbers for people who care about numbers, because this is a numbers game. Obviously, it's fantasy football. Sterling Shepard has missed 7 games, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 weeks he's missed. He is wide receiver 67. Van Jefferson has missed 1 week, wide receiver 45. Give me the man who would be clearing Van Jefferson by a mile if he was healthy. Give me that guy who is performing.
Well, no crap. We said that.
Right, but this is a waiver wire pickup. Like, you want to pick up the guy who is going to be the best if he plays. You're not picking up the guy.
Well, that's the thing that we've been saying for the last 2 weeks, is every week matters at this point. I'd rather have a guy that's healthy and that like I know is going to be like, it's not like Sterling Shepard. Oh, it's been this year that he's had one bad injury. Like, he's had several injuries this year that have kept him out. He's had several injuries in years past that have kept him out. I love Sterling Shepard. Like, he's an awesome player, and he obviously has a connection there with Daniel Jones, and I want him to be out there because he is better than Van Jefferson as a fantasy football player, 100%. I just don't know this late in the season if you want to bank on that. I'm fine with you picking him up. I would just say, if you don't need to use Van Jefferson or like anybody for the next couple of weeks, and you're just looking to pick up depth for the playoffs in case somebody goes down, hoping that Sterling Shepard can get healthy, then that's fine. But I don't know that you could say like Sterling Shepard is mountains above Van Jefferson.
Sterling Shepard has a thigh hamstring strain grade 2. That's what he has right now. It takes between 4 and 8 weeks to heal for the normal human being. Give me the guy who's going to be ready potentially this week. I'm banking on next week. Give me that guy who, when he is playing, as you just said, has a connection with Danny Dimes, is the number 1 guy on the team out there instead of the number 3. OBJ might miss this week, so Van Jefferson's going to shine. Great. Congratulations. Weeks to come, Van Jefferson is going to be behind Sterling Shepard. That's all I'm saying. Sterling Shepard.
Well, I think it depends what you need then. Like, we just said, every week matters at this point. So if you need to win this week, I would rather go Van Jefferson.
if Sterling Shepard doesn't play, Van Jefferson's the guy you want. But there's a chance Sterling Shepard can play. It's bruising in his.
But there's been a chance for the last 2 weeks, and that's what I'm concerned about.
He also has a much easier schedule coming up with Philly, Miami, Chargers, Dallas, Philly again, Chicago, Washington. So Sterling Shepard does have a nice opponents in which big yards can be grabbed on them through the air.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Van Jefferson's schedule is too bad, but yeah, I mean, I like that schedule for Sterling Shepard as well.
Also, do you think that they're going to have to throw it as many times as they did, week in and week out? I mean, how many times
did they choose to? It's like that. I think it's kind of like that Tampa Bay offense a little bit, and how much they normally throw it. Like, because that's the thing, we didn't see Van Jefferson. It was a like year high in targets, but I mean, he was consistently getting 7 targets in the last month before that. So, like, I think that he's going to get volume. Van Jefferson is started a war on this show. He single-handedly has just torn us apart. It's interesting the names that can do that.
I'm just trying to look at everything here.
It's Sterling Shepard, or not Sterling Shepard. It's been Myles Gaskin. Sorry, I had a U moment for a second. Jamal Williams, Damian Williams, and who's the other one?
What?
Darrell Williams. Those are the 3 Williams and a Gaskin that have really stroked the fire of this show. And then it's been today, Van Jefferson. Just starting.
My laptop is completely frozen.
Starting chaos. Well, frozen laptop. I think that means it's time to move into the tight end conversation.
Did you do tight ends this week?
I have a couple. They did not make my top 5, but there are a couple that I actually really like.
I only have 2, and it's not even like real love. Mario, Las Vegas is tight. Yeah. Raiders tight end, Darren Waller could potentially be a little banged up if not missing a little bit of time. So I like it. He's not completely incompetent out there. Does have 2 double-digit weeks so far this year. And who else are the Raiders going to throw to besides really Hunter Renfrow? So give me the guy who has a good chance to get into the end zone.
Who was your other one?
Evan Ingram. I don't love Evan Ingram this week, but again, I've been banging the drum on a couple guys just consistently. If, obviously they're still out there in a majority of the leagues, so just going to bang on other people. Maybe by default, maybe by default, the people I don't mention will just continue to get picked up, which would this time work in my favor and get the people who I really love picked up this week.
Yeah. I'll mention it for you. Tyler Conklin's still available in over 50% of leagues.
That's correct.
I mean, I think that he's up there for me. I don't know that he would be my number 1, depending on what you need. I have Moreau on there as well. He had 18 points last time Waller missed. I believe it was 6 for 60 and a touchdown. So solid pickup as long as Waller is out. Would be a great pickup if you have Waller on your team.
Correct.
The other one, guy yesterday I talked about, said he's going to be a league winner. I don't know how true that is, but honestly, I don't know if I want to win a title without James O'Shaughnessy on my team. James O'Shaughnessy is going to be one of my waiver pickups this week. And I'll be honest, I've never been more excited about anything in my life than the potential of getting him. On waivers, Dan Arnold out on IR, expected to miss around 4 to 6 weeks. And I don't know if James O'Shaughnessy is going to win me the title because Dan Arnold might be back, but he's going to will me there. And
where there's
that's
a will,
really
there's
all
a
I need.
will.
He had 3 catches for 29 yards, 5 targets, 7.9 fantasy points in this one. Played a lot of snaps. And, yeah, I expect him to be the starting tight end of Jacksonville, which for most weeks has been a pretty successful gig.
Yeah. I'm not sure with Dan the man, but hey, like you said, there's a will, there's probably a way.
And we saw him in week 1 get some work. Like we saw before he went down with his injury at 6 for 48, 8 targets, 10.8 fantasy points in week 1. And then he got hurt, and then they made the trade for Dan Arnold. We'll see how he steps back into it. I like him as probably, obviously, not one of the top 5 choices.
Right.
Maybe not even one of the top 8 choices, depending on your needs. But definitely someone I would look at adding in 12-man leagues for sure.
Right.
Moving on to your defenses and kickers.
Give me the Eagles and the Colts for my defenses this week. Get them both.
Are the Colts are available? I'm not like second guessing you. I just want to say
they are rostered in 51.5. So
we did talk about that last week.
You did do a guy, I believe, a couple weeks ago who was around the 53 to 55 mark. And so,
well, no need to like call people out here.
Right. I'm just saying, I'm just doing one around the 50 because, like I'm saying, Colts have a takeaway almost every single game except for one. They're playing Houston, so there's a chance for a takeaway. Tyrod's obviously just an elite ball handler out there, but there's a chance they might be able to magically get a takeaway. And again, they're more than likely available in your league.
You did do a segment last week where you rolled through every Colts game, and I had to explain like why they didn't have a mega week. So I'm excited to see that your feelings on the Colts defense have changed.
They have not changed. It's just that,
you don't have to like, you don't have to be defensive about it. They've changed, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Even though you are not directly admitting it, I can see it in your eyes, and I'm proud. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this last week. Said sometimes it's a good idea if you have the roster flexibility to pick up a defense the week before. Colts were playing Tampa Bay last week. Not many people, or they got dropped, I think, in like 20% of leagues. So if you picked them up last week, like I suggested, and I did, you're pretty happy that you don't have to worry about picking them up on waivers this week because they're going to be a popular pickup for sure if they're available.
That is true. That is true. Eagles are also playing the Jets, so Eagles are going to have a monster week this week. Jets, Zach Wilson, I believe, is going to be the quarterback again, so easy pickings back there for sure. For kickers, give me the Cincinnati kicker and Miami kicker. Both those guys are in for good days. I'm not even going to try to pronounce names because absolutely horrendous at it.
Well, that's what makes it fun.
All right, it's McPherson and Sanders, I believe.
You definitely got the second one right.
I think I got Sanders. It's McPherson, Farson, something like that.
No, I think it is McPherson. I think there was nothing to be worried about. That was perfect.
Yeah, Cincinnati's playing the Chargers. Should be a shootout for sure. Both have some good offenses when healthy and playing well, so they could potentially be getting down the field in scoring position. Sanders for Miami is playing the Giants. Two not so great teams, but I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a bunch of field goals, if not some PATs, because you do have Myles Gaskin and Jalen Waddle out there to bail your team out for Miami.
That is our waiver pickups for the week. Quickly, to wrap up today's show, we are going to do some trade deadline buy, sell. We each have a few guys that you should buy low on at the deadline and sell high on at the deadline, as long as your deadline has not passed yet.
I'll let you go first.
are Wednesday at noon. So a little less than 24 hours to get these final deals done. Do we want to start with our buy lows or sell highs?
Let's go with buy, and I'll go.
I feel like we should start with our negativity, though.
No, I think it's just going to take too long if we go with our negativity first. That we won't be able to talk about the highs.
Fair
So
enough.
I would like to go last for the sell. However we make that happen, that's fine. Go last for the sell. The least amount of controversy.
We can go back and forth. I mean, I'm not going to go comment too much because I think we just got to get through it. My number one is going to be Dallas Goddard. This isn't in any particular order. It's just the order that I wrote it down. If that's particular, then I suppose it is in particular order. Yeah, Dallas Goddard only had one catch last week, but that's not really the norm for him. Right. We saw the target volume. I believe I saw a thing that was like before last week. His target volume or target share without Zach Ertz was 29%. Mm-hmm. I think that he's a guy that down the stretch, you are going to be very happy to have. He is one of the top receiving weapons in this offense.
Correct.
And he just hasn't cashed in on many touchdowns yet. I know that you're going to look at some of the numbers and be like, I don't know how I feel about that. Right. But I'm looking to cash in on Dallas Goddard in a few leagues where I have some tight end issues because just the opportunity and knowing that the player that he is, I think, is something that is very encouraging. And seeing the defenses they play, you are going to have to deal with the bye in week 14. So if that is a problem, keep that in mind. But he has the Jets this week, and then Washington, the Giants, and Washington again. And then Dallas in week 18 if you go to week 18.
I love it. Absolutely love Dallas Goddard. Great pickup. First guy I said was James Robinson. It's Jacksonville offense, so it's not the best offense out there by a long shot. James Robinson has been very good this year. He's kind of been down from that first, week 3, 4, 5, and 6. Before that bye, he was just on a tear of like 20-point games, 19-point games. Since the bye, 5-point game, Buffalo he missed, and then the past 3, he has gotten you double digits in full-point leagues. So that's nice and encouraging. A guy who's been underperforming as of late, definitely a guy I'm going to try to go after in most of my leagues. He's a solid guy, solid RB2, and could do worse if you're looking for a running back, especially with all these injuries this year. It's always nice to go get a running back who's down a little bit from where he was.
Agreed. And a guy with clear handcuff too, which I think, as you mentioned, the injuries cannot be understated. You can get him and Carlos Hyde.
Right.
For my number 2, I am kind of have 2 running backs here. My big one is Saquon. Saquon's been a little bit down. We kind of saw this last time. We talked about this yesterday as well. When he started the season, he started out a little bit slow, and then they were able to really unleash him. And he was getting started on the right track and then went down with another injury. I like Saquon to kind of figure this thing out. And there's a cat on the field.
I can't move her. She is very...
That's fine. No, it's not a problem.
Show up, say hi. Say hi to the people.
What was the name?
Shelby.
Ah, of course. Yeah, Saquon. I think he's still Saquon, and I'm not too worried about him being able to get a lot of touches in this offense as they kind of let the reins off of him a little bit. And I just like his potential to be an impact guy in the tail end of the season.
Amen.
Same thing with CH. As we get into it, I think people don't realize like how decent CH was this year because of the injury. So I really like CH as another buy low.
CH is an interesting buy low. I don't hate it. Again, it's been a weird it's been a weird year for him, for sure. Obviously, with the injury, the whole offense kind of looking a little sluggish. He's been pretty good on the ground and definitely a dual threat guy. Interesting guy if you want to get him, go for it. Definitely a guy you can get for cheap. I don't hate it. I went with Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk as my double pair for wide receivers to finish off my two guys. Justin Jefferson, you're going to have to pay, but he's a guy who is going to perform for you rest of season. I mean, he just came off of a bad week. Terrible week for Justin with only 13 points. Not many guys you can say that for. So he's a guy who, if he can get a touchdown, will get you 20 points, and without it, double digits. He's definitely a guy you should try to get on your playoff roster. Definitely a guy you need. Brandon Ayuk, with Debo going down, we don't know for how long and don't know how serious. But Brandon Ayuk has been on the up these past couple of weeks. He was on our waiver wire a while ago. He's another guy who I think people should go out and target, especially with the Debo absence potential. Definitely a guy worth helping your team. And honestly, Brandon Ayuk does have a good shot to go for a decent amount of points week in and week out, which you can't be said for some of these wide receiver twos in terms of their floor.
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I have to win the next couple weeks, I would definitely consider taking a shot at Ayuk. I'm a little bit worried about the price tag just right now with the Debo injury being a little bit high.
But if you're making a playoff push, you got to go for it. Like, these are guys who I think you got to buy.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you're going to get to it, either of those guys, for too low of a price.
I think you can lose depth, but depending on your league and depending on how and who has these people, one of those guys might not have any running backs. You could try to two-piece some running backs for one of these guys if you have depth at the running back position and try to shore up your wide receiver core, or vice versa if you're going after James Robinson. Again, look at their team. If they really only have James Robinson as the running back, try to two-piece them together for James Robinson. And again, this is a time of year where depth is helpful, but not a necessity. You kind of want your starting lineup to just be as dynamic and as explosive as possible.
Yeah, you're kind of trying to sell off that depth.
So you want to get
for a title.
Right. So two-piece a lot of your guys together is kind of where my mindset is of buy low, is in like get rid of two wide receiver twos and get this wide receiver one. Get rid of a wide receiver 3 and a wide receiver 2 and get Brandon Ayuk, who's going to be on the up these next couple. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, my last buy low is also going to be and we lost him. I think that's got to very clearly be the Cat's fault, right? I think that goes without saying that was on the Cat. I don't know Shelby personally. Never met her in my life. I'm sure outside of production, great gal. But within the confines of the show, a real problem. I don't know what this is. And I don't know why that just showed up. Are you on?
I am here. Can you see me or hear me?
Now you're back. You're back. Yeah, I was just kind of going about Shelby. I'm not sure that I think, like, outside of the show, I don't know Shelby that well.
Right.
But within the confines of the show, Shelby seems like she likes to make it all about herself, and I'm not sure that that's like very polite anyways.
Shelby is the princess of the house, so what she says goes. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Well, I mean, I suppose that is okay within the confines of the show.
Right.
That does seem a little bit problematic.
Yeah, she came over, turned off the laptop, and said, "Hey, look at me. I'm running away now." So we're gonna talk to her after the show. Have a firm sit down.
Some people say Antonio Brown is a princess, and I don't know if that's offensive, and I don't know if that's appropriate.
Why would it not be appropriate?
I don't know. I don't know that he likes being called that.
I mean, princess is a royalty, dude. Like, They don't have to work. They don't have to clean. They don't do anything. They have people worship them on their hands and feet. They get fed all day. They got money. They have nice cars. They get to go out to fancy balls, wear cool clothes. I mean, there is a lot worse things in life than being called a princess.
Some people don't like the connotations of being called a princess. And you know what I say? To each their own. But Antonio Brown, to keep us going. Antonio Brown has been out for a while. Yes. I think that he is a very interesting buy because I think you can get him at a pretty cheap price. Even his projection right now in ESPN has been lowered. I think it's around 10, which is kind of nuts because when he was there, I mean, he was producing as well as any receiver in this receiving core. I think this is more of a – when you're looking at buying a guy that's injured, and it's actually 12.1 in full point PPR. It was 10 in half. Still, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this.
Mm-hmm.
Lower than the other Bucs wide receivers. I don't know if that's true, but I think it is.
Yeah, he was like the third fill out there.
Yeah, and I think he has as good of a chance as any of them to be the top guy. We saw him averaging like 16, 17 points when he was healthy. Want to get this up here. Oh, he's averaging 19.1. So Antonio Brown definitely could be a good option that I don't think you even have to get rid of like a great starter for. Like you might not even have to get rid of a starter. It might be like a flex option. So like Mike Williams or Antonio Brown. Like I think that's and that might even be like a little bit high. Like I think you could probably give up something less for Antonio Brown at this point. If they're running back needy, I think you can give a Deontay Foreman for an Antonio Brown, and that could be a great deal for you.
Right. Antonio Brown is probably one of the best guys who is unhealthy right now, but has a chance to come back as any. The whole offense seemed to have kind of slowed down a little bit. Tom hasn't been as efficient without AB. Granted, Gronk was out for a little bit. But again, if it all depends on how run heavy they decide to go. Fournette did just have a game of 4 touchdowns against like the number 4 ranked, defense out there. So we don't know what the team is going to try to perform like, but I really like Antonio Brown. Has such talent out there. Big brain, knows how to do it, gets open, and Tom is an amazing quarterback. So I like it. Like that buy low candidate.
Your last buy low.
Last buy low, it's a little controversial. Some would say slightly favoritism here. It's kind of cheap. I'm going to go Myles Gaskin just because if he broke the curse against Carolina, the number 1 team at stopping the opponent's fantasy players, and he could break the curse against them, curse is over. There is no more curse. There is no more every other week shenanigans. From this point on, he said, this is playoff time to rise and grind. It's, do or die. Give me Myles Gaskins. He's out there for cheap because, it's Myles Gaskins, and no one really has all the respect on his name as he deserves. He's only a running back too, so people just look down on him and try to get you for Ty Johnson for him. But you definitely go out there, get him for cheap. He turned around these last 2 games. I like it a lot. And Myles Gaskin is a guy who they're just kind of trusting out there. I mean, I'm not as worried about Philip Lindsay taking the reins as you are, but
I don't think he takes the reins, but I think he could eat into it.
Malcolm Brown, when healthy, which I think is the role that they're going to give Philip Lindsay, is the Malcolm Brown role. Gaskin still performed. Granted, it was every other week, but Brown wasn't performing monsterly.
No, so, I don't know that it's like. I think you pick him up more as like a handcuff or like deeper leagues. Like I was saying, outside of 12-team leagues.
It has to be a 14-team league, and you'd have to have no running backs. So that's the only way I can think about it.
I said that,
It's Gaskin's show, and I mean, I think the curse is over. I really do. Like, bottom of my heart, all honesty. I think it's going to be an every week double-digit thing for the rest of the season. Because, like, he did it against Carolina. And looking at the competition, he has the Giants, a bye, the Jets, New Orleans, Tennessee. Like, that's your playoffs right there. That's a great.
I don't know that it's great.
The Giants are pitiful. The bye week in 14 kind of is a bummer. But then Jets are pitiful. New Orleans is not stopping anyone this year.
What are you talking about? They're top against the run. They're one of the top defenses against the run.
Matt Breida just got 13.5 fantasy points.
Yeah, but he rushed 9 for 26 against them.
But he's the third string guy, dude. Like,
no, he's not. He wasn't the third string guy. I mean, New Orleans is allowing the third least rushing yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I mean, this kind of goes.
Carolina was letting up the number one in terms of fantasy points.
They were middle of the pack in rushing yards allowed.
He didn't even have a good rushing game. He just
got 2 touchdowns. That's kind of. I feel like that helps.
It does. He went 16 for 49 and 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then 2 for 2 for 3 yards in the air. Like, but if he can,
I mean, this is going to be a controversy because one of my top sell high guys was Myles Gaskin, back-to-back 18-point weeks. I just think there's getting another guy that you can trust there, and like, I don't think his value is that low. Like, you look at him, he's running back 14, which is pretty high. Like, I think that there's just other running backs that are going to be more trustworthy and like have had bad weeks lately. Like, there's a couple of running backs who have had just down weeks lately where I think you could package. I'm trying to do a lot of research here and I am lagging crazy.
You're super laggy, my brother.
And yeah, it's not the greatest. I don't know what tab to close, and I'm going to go blind for like half the stuff. So you're going to come at me and I'm going to know nothing. But
good.
Myles Gaskin, he's running back 14 right now. I think that there's other running backs who have struggled a little bit of late. We've talked about some, whether that be, I don't know if you're going to be able to pull Saquon Barkley and package somebody for him and Saquon Barkley. I think you can package somebody for CEH. I think you can package somebody for David Montgomery. I think you might be able to even package somebody with him for James Robinson. I just don't feel great about him going into the playoffs. He has a bye week, which in some cases is not a big thing. But in this case, he has a bye week, and then he has New Orleans, who is allowing the least fantasy points to opposing running backs. He has them in the playoffs. And then he has the Titans, who are third. I get that he had a good day against against Carolina. He had 2 touchdowns. Like, I'm not taking that away from him. He had 19 points, but like, we know that efficiency and production is more consistent week to week than touchdowns, especially when you're on the Miami Dolphins. Like, it's more easy to predict your yards per game or to be a little bit more consistent in like your yards and touches than in whether you're going to score a touchdown week in and week out. Like, there's a few guys that you feel pretty good about that for, but there's not many. So I am looking to sell Myles Gaskin if I can, and if I can hop into that a little bit more like top end running back 2 to lower end RB1 mix. I think that you can do that right now with Myles Gaskin having 2 very, very good like weeks fantasy wise back to back, and in 3 of the last 4, and an intriguing matchup against the Giants this week. So I think I would try to make that move while I can.
I guess we're arguing different sides of the coin, because I'm saying buy, you're saying sell.
We agree to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, Myles Gaskin, I think he's always been a controversial guy.
Polarized.
Again, yeah, but I have faith in him. Just, the curse, it's broken. I mean, if you beat the number 1 team, he beat the number 1 team already. Like, what's he going to do? Go to New Orleans? They're going to be the number 1 team. He's going to whack them again for another 19.5 fantasy points. Oh, He's going to go to Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be like, hey, we're number one. He's going to be like, hey, 3 for 3. Bang. Pop you for another 19.52 touchdowns. Like this time of year where you want a guy who's going to score, I get it if you want to sell high on him, go for it if you're trying to get someone good. But like you're going to short sell yourself if you're going for RB2. This is what it is.
So you would you rather have like a Myles Gaskin than any of the guys that I mentioned, like David Montgomery?
David's a close one just because, he has been having some down weeks as of late. I mean, David, he had Pittsburgh, 10 points. Baltimore, 7 points. Detroit, where we thought we didn't have a monster game. They're going to be up, run the clock. He got 10.4 fantasy points. And half-point PPR leagues, that's all underneath double digits. So, yeah, David Montgomery is he's not being a stud right now. And this time of year where you don't have time to be waiting for a guy to turn yourself around. You need a guy who's already turned around, going, and charging through. That was like a 180.
I turned around.
Well, you didn't because you went 180 and then came back. So it's like.
But, my mobility is a little bit limited here, man.
You could get up and do a circle if you really care about it.
I don't feel the need to do that.
Don't care about the people. Got it. Yeah,
but we are at an hour and a half. probably shouldn't just be me running around in circles at that point.
It definitely should be. I have a guy who you're not going to like, but I think a lot of people will agree with me with. Okay. Is Zeke.
That's a bad decision at all.
Okay, good. I just know that you had a weird infatuation with Zeke earlier on.
I don't think it was weird.
You defended him when he was being bad, so I just felt.
I defended him when he was going off for 100 yards, and then I said, okay, he's not as good anymore.
Anyway, Zeke injured. Past couple games, he hasn't been missing drives because of an injury. So just try to sell high on Zeke. Watching the Dallas games, missed time with the ankle, missed times with ribs. He always comes back, but then he's always less productive than what you hope Zeke would be. So get rid of him. Try to package him for, or not even have to package, just get him for a guy who is trending upwards in the RB1 conversation.
Can you just throw quickly a name out there that you would try?
I think you probably do a Zeke and Pollard for mix and trade.
Interesting. I don't know if you can do that, but that was one of the things I was going to throw other people in to try to get Mixon. But yeah, I agree because I have Zeke and I was going to try to do that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get Mixon or if many people would be able to get Mixon. I think
you're going to have to piece it together. I don't see Kamara's up.
I think that's like a name that.
Well, he's on my sell list too. He's another guy on my sell list is Kamara because again, injuries. Taysom Hill diminishes his value, and Taysom Hill's going to be the starter. And as you talked about earlier on in the show, they might shut him down for the season. Don't you do it this time? Don't you? No.
Princess is off duty.
This is where she likes to lay. She likes to lay right on this.
On your computer.
Well, I have to shut it normally, but then she'll come over and lay on it. So, yeah. But Kamara, again, getting back to him, we both said that they might shut him down for season soon. If they keep losing all these games in which they're trending that way with absolutely no weapons besides Kamara out there. So he is a guy on my sell list. So Zeke and Kamara are both guys who I'm looking to get and move on.
Fair enough. One of my next people is someone we talked about on the show. I don't need to dwell too much on it. I guess I can do all of my sells. Chuba Hubbard, get him if you have him. Get rid of him immediately. Whatever it takes is what you have to do. I don't think that he's a bad person to get because I think he has trade value to somebody, but I think those people just aren't looking ahead, and I think you might be able to take advantage of that, or just take advantage of like desperation at the running back position. So I don't mind. I think you could do like Chuba and I don't know, like another bench wide receiver for Antonio Gibson, like Chuba and Bateman for Antonio Brown. I think is what I meant to say. I don't know if I said that the first time. I don't even know what I said.
Yeah, I'm with you. Get rid of Chuba Hubbard.
And my last two, going along with the Antonio Brown thing, are Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's been someone we talked about on the show. I think you can still sell high because
you can do both of them. Yeah,
they both have bad weeks, but they're both, I'm pretty sure, still in the wide receiver one, still wide receiver ones, and still in the wide receiver one mix, if not still wide receiver ones.
7 and 9 right now.
Godwin's at 11 and Evans is at 12. So I think these are two guys that you might want to look to move on from as Antonio Brown gets back in the mix. Mm-hmm. And she mentioned looking towards consistency. We both have talked about Mike Evans, not necessarily the most consistent option.
Correct.
And I think Chris Godwin, we saw him be impacted when Antonio Brown was on the field.
I'm with you. Tampa Bay guys are all going to take a hit, but they're all going to be good, solid wide receiver twos, but package them up while you can, get some value for them while AB's out, because AB is soon to return. I like it. My last guy was Mike Williams. Kind of hard after 7.9, but again, I have been telling people to sell Mike Williams ever since they got him from the draft. Just a guy who is an insanely boom or bust, which is nice to help you get to the playoffs. But you want a guy whose floor is 10 points, like a guy whose floor is going to get you double digits week in, week out, and then has a ceiling of like 20, 25, who can like still win you a week, but never lose you a week. Mike Williams will lose you a week, but he'll also win you a week. But that's not, and if that's the risk you want to take as your wide receiver, like go for it. But you can definitely get a more sturdy guy than Mike Williams. So try to move to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, I would definitely look to move Mike Williams. Perhaps am. I'm not like completely off of him. If you're relying on him in your starting lineup every week, then maybe I would look to be a little bit more antsy to get rid of him, depending on what you can get. It's tough because you can't really sell him high. He still is wide receiver, I think, like 13, which is nuts. So if people are going to look at that, maybe. But off of last week's performance, he's wide receiver 17 in full point PPR. So, yeah, looking at the numbers, if people look into it anymore, it might be a little bit tougher, but still could be possible to ship him off. That is our buy-sell list for the deadline. Good luck with your last-minute fantasy trades.
Amen.
Questions. Trade Madison, CH, Manuel Sanders for Knox, Brown, and Cooks. This is a very interesting one, Toady. Would you do that?
Would I? No.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it was brought up because you did do that.
No, I didn't actually, but good try. Thank you for, disclaiming me. I did Madison, CEH, Jags defense.
There you go.
For Knox, Browns, Cooks, Captain Manuel Sanders.
Fair enough.
Thank you. But, I do enjoy getting my name deflamed all over the internet. Thank you. JKin40.
PPR trade. I give Kelsey, Jamar, and DK for Kittle, Tyreek, Claypool, and more. I don't think I would do that. I think I would stay put with Kelsey. Kelsey's just so irreplaceable. I would not want to make that move.
I would do it just because Jamar and DK. If you can get Tyreek Hill, who now has a clear shot at being the number one wide receiver again, and Kittle is on the rise with Debo going down, go for it. Kelsey's a huge asset to have, but Kittle's on the up, and Tyreek's obviously just one of the best to have out there.
Bateman or Gallup? Amari Cooper expected to miss Thursday. Also, Taysom Hill or Tua this week over Russell. So, first things first, I would take Gallup if Amari Cooper is going to be out.
With you.
I'm going to take some time. I think your decision for the quarterback situation is pretty easy. I do want to look at who the Dolphins face the Giants this week.
Yep.
I'm probably going Taysom.
You can go Taysom just because he gives you that huge ground game, but they have no weapons. Like Tua has Gaskins if he wants to throw it to him, but he really does. He has Philip Lindsay who can pass catch for you, and he has Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki. So give me Tua. I like Tua, but again, Taysom Hill does give you a lot of talent with his own legs. So, you can't go wrong with either of them, but you can at the same time because they just haven't shown you that they can be consistently viable fantasy options for you yet.
Trade Godwin, Dillon, and Freeman for Mitchell Wilson. Is that Russ Wilson?
No
I
idea.
don't think it is because I think I know the league. I don't know what Wilson it is. Wilson and AB. I don't know what Wilson it is. Jeffrey Wilson. Mitchell, Jeff Wilson, and AB. Depends how desperate you are at running back. I mean, I would be fine with it. If you could yeah, actually, never mind. AB's in there too. I would do it.
I mean, that's a dumb trade for whoever's getting Dillon and Freeman. Godwin, is that
Chris Godwin? One of my sell high guys. So
yeah, I mean, so he's going to be going down. Dillon's a backup. Aaron Jones could potentially be back this week, more than likely next week. And Freeman is not going to get you double digits. So yeah, if you want to milk this guy, go for it if he accepts it because Mitchell's going to be great and AB is going to be great.
Should I trade DK and Javonte for more CD and AB? Yes. Unless you, I mean, it depends who you're going to be starting as your RB2, but that is a lot of good wide receivers that you would be acquiring. So I would do that deal.
Go for it. That's great.
CD's better than DK. DK and AB is probably going to be close to the same category. Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore over who? Oh, DJ Moore. So it's Elijah Moore, CD, and AB. Still would do that. Yes.
Yeah, you get Antonio Brown. Love it.
And CD's an upgrade. It depends on your running back situation. Like, I wouldn't want to get rid of Javonte if I'm starting, I don't know, like a Devontae Freeman in his place. But yeah, if you can afford to get rid of him, I would do that.
Definitely an upgrade.
That is it on questions as I see for now. If anybody has some in the last minute while I'm signing off, we will answer them. But that is it for us today. Good show. We got an argument about Van Jefferson. That was fun.
You have to.
Talked about Sterling Shepard for a little bit, but all in good sake of the show and educating on fantasy football as much as we can. We're probably not the people that you want your advice from, but that's what it is, unfortunately. That's a great endorsement for the show. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we will be back on. Lee Shakur has Kamara, Eli Mitchell, and Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, you can.
You're fine, dude.
Javonte, have fun on the other side. But yeah, that is it for us today. We will be back on Thursday.
We will.
New me, new month, new me. You're gonna see short hair, probably without the hat, for the first time in a while. It's going to be, some would say, life-changing.
It's going to be life-altering.
Who is going to be the question? But we will see you all on Thursday. Break down Cowboys, Saints, and get a head start on the weekend We will see you then.